Welcome back to the Popcorn Hour. I'm Matt. This is James, and today we are doing a pro wrestling double feature with Queen of the Ring and Iron Claw.
Yep. So I think we should real quickly just go through what we watched since we last filmed and then get right into it.
Yeah, real quickly.
Okay. You want to go first?
Yeah, I'll go first. Batman Under the Red Hood.
Good.
Favorite DC animated movie. Both Guy Ritchie, Sherlock
Is that a
Holmes.
hot take?
I don't think so. I think there would be a lot of people that agree. Both Guy Ritchie, Sherlock Holmes, Van Helsing, Deadpool, Wolverine, Iron Claw, and Queen of the Ring.
I watched Escape from Alcatraz with Clint Eastwood. Greatest movie of all time, Balls of Fury.
But your rating says otherwise.
It's a terrible movie, but it's funny.
Mm-hmm.
Megamind, Iron Claw, and Queen of the Ring.
Okay.
This is my third rewatch of Iron Claw, and then my 1.5 times of watching Queen of the Ring.
It's my second time
Actually,
watching.
3.5 of Iron Claw, because one time I passively watched it with you and Mom.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. I think this is my fourth time watching Iron Claw.
I've cried every time.
I didn't this time.
Except for the half.
I didn't this time.
I cried again.
Okay. First thoughts on both?
First thoughts on both. This is the spoiler-free version. Go watch them. They're both good. They both have good stories. That's it. Just go watch it. All right.
Okay. So these are great stories based on true stories.
Yeah.
Iron Claw based off of the famous Von Erich family. And Queen of the Ring is a true story about Mildred Burke, who pioneered women's pro wrestling. And I think both of these are very good for those who aren't wrestling fans. Uh-huh. So, because there's a lot of explanation to help non-wrestling fans, but the stories are just really good. So,
honestly, weirdly, I think that these two are, if you watch Queen of the Ring first and then immediately watch Iron Claw, I feel like it's a good, back-to-back feature.
Yeah.
Because Queen of the Ring kind of gives some explanation for it, and then Iron Claw just kind of wraps you up in it.
Also, timeline-wise.
Yeah.
So, I would say that's all for spoiler-free.
Yeah, we're ready to get into this because we're probably going to be yapping for a minute. Yes.
So, starting off with Queen of the Ring, this movie was released in 2024. The director is Avildsen. It's based on the book Queen of the Ring, Sex, Muscles, Diamonds, and the Making of an American Legend by Jeff Lean. It's considered a biopic sports drama, and the setting takes place between the 1930s and the 1950s.
Yeah. So, my biggest thing about this movie was immediately just how it started. It was just very strange to me because it just starts and the pacing is way off. It just keeps getting slower and slower.
Yeah.
And then the dialogue at the beginning is just really bad. I don't like it.
Okay.
It's really forced and is just throws me off. I was like, what is happening? My biggest issue with Queen of the Ring, though, is I don't think the right people made it because it felt like it was trying too hard to be like the Elvis movie and trying to be kind of like The Wrestler, I guess. Trying to be something that it wasn't. And that's why I gave it a 3. It was a good movie. I think the story is there. It was just the production wasn't quite there. The dialogue wasn't there. There wasn't enough impact with a lot of stuff. A huge thing happens in every scene, and then it just kind of gets washed away. For example, Gladys's death, she just dies, and then they're like, "Oh, she's dead."
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and then all the women wrestlers that are joining their organization, they're really underutilized as cast members. But I understand that Mildred is the main character, but like you have this ensemble, you had the opportunity for this ensemble group to like each have their own like little story in it, and I feel like that would have been more homage like to Mildred and to how her story was impactful, because it impacted everyone, like all women that wanted to do the sport. And,
True.
But only showing her side and not expanding more on everyone else's, I feel like took back from the movie and kind of wasn't hypocritical, but like not. It was kind of like, I guess it was a little hypocritical because it was like standing up for the women in the sport, but then only showing her side and then not really going into everything else.
Yeah, I agree with that. The movie does start with like the ending of the movie, which I feel like a lot of sports movies do that.
I did like that a lot because you could really tell how much Mildred's character matures and ages
and grows. Yeah,
because right when it starts, you can already establish that like she's been around for a minute. And what I found crazy was that it cuts back to the past.
Yep.
Like when this all started, and the cinematography, the color, everything looks the exact same, but you can just tell that this is
earlier,
just so much earlier. Like Mildred's demeanor is just so different, and I think that just shows how good the acting was for.
Yeah. So I agree with most of that. I do think some of the dialogue throughout the movie fell flat, and
a lot of overacting.
There was a lot of overacting,
and I feel like that was. I don't know if it was the director, like for like this kind of vision that they're going for, but it was just kind of like everyone was doing it. But there was really good actors in this movie, so that kind of threw me off.
Yeah, so I mean, we have Emily Bett Rickards.
Also, she got
Mildred Burke
yoked.
Yes, and I want to go into how she prepared for this movie because it's super interesting. But she played Mildred Burke. Josh Lucas played Billy Wolf.
Yeah,
and
he's a really good actor.
Yep, and we had Walton Goggins. In there. Tyler Posey, Deborah Ann Wall, who played Karen in Daredevil.
I was really excited to see more of her character, and then they just kind of started showing more of it, and then they just stopped.
Yeah. One person I was really surprised to see, but was excited, was Kelly Berglund. She was in the 2 seasons of Heels, which was starred in with Emily's Arrow co-star Stephen Amell, which is a wrestling TV show that aired on Starz. That's a great show, so go watch it. Hopefully we can get a 3rd season because the 2nd season kind of ended on a really big cliffhanger. But yeah, so it's a really stacked cast, and I do feel like there was a lot of overacting, but I like how a lot of things were set in the proper time frame of like the language, especially Walton Goggins. Like he belongs in that era.
Yeah, Walton Goggins was perfect.
Yeah, he was great.
This also would have been right around when they did Fallout, so he was like armed and ready for this.
Yeah,
and he was already playing Baby Billy, which is kind of like a spoof or whatever of like someone from the 60s, I guess, or around that era, or even though this was 50s.
So when this movie came out, they did a soft release in certain like LA theaters.
This was a bad idea, in my opinion.
It was, because I heard Emily talk about it on Michael Rosenbaum's podcast, is how they were going to do a soft release on a few theaters, and if it did well, then they would release it to larger theater or more theaters throughout the nation. That didn't happen. So when I first got announced that this movie was being done, I was really excited. But I was never able to watch it in theaters because it never came this way. And then it took a while to actually get on streaming. So I watched it on Prime Video.
Long.
Yeah, it was ridiculous. So it didn't really do great amongst non-wrestling fans. A lot of wrestling fans, there's mixed reactions to it, but I think the overall is like, hey, we got a wrestling movie, we're excited. So
I do think that was weird because this movie feels more like you can't watch it unless you're a wrestling fan. I'm not really a wrestling fan. I have respect for the sport, but I don't watch it. Yeah. But Iron Claw was more welcoming, even though they don't really explain a lot of the terminology or whatever about the sport.
That's what I did like about Queen of the Ring, is that it did explain
Immediately.
heels and baby faces, kayfabe, how they, like, the wrestling world kind of interacts, especially in that time, because the NWA is a real alliance. It's still going on today, and I didn't know that. Yeah, back then it was a committee, and it was a territories across the nation before WWE took over everything. And so the way they did it was a committee would kind of get together and discuss championships, matches, and who would, be the top guy in those different territories. And if it's not like how it is today, where it's like you have WWE, AEW, New Japan, things like that. Like it was just a bunch of small territories around the world. And so I like how they incorporated that into it, because NWA is so important to the wrestling world. And they did a really good job with that. What I also liked is the actual wrestlers that they incorporated into this movie. So Camille, who's in AEW, played June Byers. Timeless Tony Storm, who's also in AEW, played Claire Mortensen. Trinity Fatu, otherwise known as Naomi in WWE, she was one of the sisters. You also had cameos from Mickie James, Britt Baker. Mickie James played the fabulous Moolah, who she's intense. She was an intense pro wrestler. You had Jim Cornette, who's a wrestling historian. He played the NWA commissioner. Okay. I don't like him all that much, but he has a lot of good information when it's not involved with his opinion. And we had June Byers, Claire Mortensen. Like, those are all real wrestlers for that time. I was also excited to see Mae Young, who is a trailblazer in her own right. She was super tough. My first interaction with or seeing Mae Young was like in her 80s, I believe. And it was a storyline between her and Mark Henry. And Mae Young was giving birth, and then it ended up being like a hand or something weird. And then also like it was so weird. I'll show you a clip of it. It's so funny. But
wait, as in like Mark Henry?
Yeah, as in when like World's Strongest Man, Mark Henry. Yeah,
versus an 80-year-old woman.
It was like they had like a love child together, and she gave birth to like a hand. It was weird. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But another thing with Mae Young, of how tough she is, and I love how they put it in this movie of her toughness, is one half of the Dudleys, Bubba Dudley, he power bombed her off the stage at like 80 something years old through a table. She is tough. Yeah. So having her be as tough in this movie is really great.
When the movie ended and the credits are rolling and it said that she wrestled well into her 80s, I was doing what?
Oh yeah, she was getting power bombed and all types. She got RKO'd by Randy Orton when he was the Legend Killer at the time.
What?
Yeah, like she was a lot. And then later she would also be in like backstage segments, and she would be like, there's a funny one at WrestleMania between her and The Rock, and The Rock is she's trying to cozy up next to The Rock, and it's just super funny and super weird. But yeah.
All right.
Yeah, so it was super cool to see her being so tough in this movie, and I like it a lot. I want to talk about Emily's training and preparation.
Okay, real quick about that.
Mm-hmm.
The poster for this movie, that's a great poster.
It is a really good poster.
It's a really good poster. When I first saw that, I immediately got reminded of Sarah Connor from Terminator 2, because from 1 to 2, she got insanely jacked.
Yeah,
and apparently
she was super yoked.
It was because she had like severe depression or anxiety, and said that the only thing that helped was going to the gym. And so she basically like lived in the gym just so she like felt better, and then just happened to get absolutely diced.
Yeah.
But yeah, I did not expect seeing Felicity Smoke from Arrow. Just where was she should have done the salmon ladder in this movie.
Yeah. So the way she trained was she was very dialed in with her nutrition and training. She trained with real wrestlers at Ohio Valley Wrestling (OVW) under Al Snow and Doug Basham. So OVW is it was kind of like to train wrestlers to be ready for WWE back in the day. And so, like, the most famous class from OVW is John Cena, Batista, Brock Lesnar, Shelton Benjamin, and Randy Orton.
All right.
So, yeah. So they taught her. She trained with, Tony Storm, things like that. So
I thought you were about to say Soprano. And I was like, she trained with Tony Soprano?
No. She worked closely with Camille and Tony Storm to like, learn how wrestling works and stuff like that, which is really cool when it comes to something like this. Because I feel like, especially this one, not so much Iron Claw, but for Queen of the Ring, like, it focused on wrestling and the business itself and building your name. So she definitely needed to learn how to wrestle for these specific points. And there's not a whole lot of them, but it's super impactful for the story itself. So that's what I really, really liked about how she prepared for this movie. So,
do you want me to go through like my notes that I wrote down for this movie?
Yeah,
I didn't write a lot. I wrote a few. Okay, so the opening, which we already talked about, that was all I wrote was powerful opening. That was like, okay, yeah, that was really good, especially watching it a second time. I was like, okay, I really like that. And then the next one, I wrote this one down because I thought it was funny. Her and Billy Wolf, the first time they like almost kiss in front of her mom's house. There's like playing this like whimsical music, like you're in a trance, like they both are, and the door opens and it just stops.
Yeah,
I was like, okay, that was pretty funny. This one I wrote down because I think this is my favorite scene in the whole movie. Maybe not favorite scene, but favorite like acted out scene, favorite sequence maybe, is Handsome George and Jim Mitchell in the locker room, like prepping with Walton Goggins as he's like announcing, and he's like just quipping.
Yeah,
that scene to me just was one that stood out so much.
Yeah, it's
and
also
I was like,
Gorgeous George, not Handsome George.
Yeah, I don't know why that says.
Yeah, Gorgeous George.
I was like, wow, that it just stood out, and I was like, that was.
I think that's
really
my
cool.
favorite scene. I wrote that down as well. Like, the promo work for that was so good, and then just kind of Walton Goggins just kind of riffing was super like smooth, I thought.
One thing that I didn't write down that was another really good scene is when Billy Wolf is explaining the characters, and he's like, Millie stands for like morality, hard work, and stuff like that. And then it like shows her walking out, and then you can like from that point on you really feel like her character for the rest of the movie. And I was like, that was a good one. This one I have a few notes for both of them, so I'll bring this one up when we talk about Iron Claw. But there's no emphasis on their success on either of them. Like nothing talking about like how famous they really were, and then how much money they were bringing in, especially with her, because it's just kind of like she's poor, and then all of a sudden she's like wealthy, but you don't really know how wealthy or how famous she is.
Yeah, that really doesn't get explained till the end.
This one I thought was a really emotional scene, but they cut it way too early. Was the scene where Wolf is like really beating on Mildred. And then it like just cuts like right at the climax of the scene, and they could have just dragged it out more. I feel like with this movie, they felt like they were just like rushing to tell the story when they needed to just chill out, just let the story tell itself. And that scene, I feel like could have been a lot more impactful and like meaningful for Mildred's character. This one I wrote line delivery like 4 times because the line delivery was just kept throwing me off, and some of them were just so unnatural, and I just kind of wish that they were given a little more leeway with what they could say.
Mm-hmm.
Another thing I wrote was they kept randomly like changing the transitions. Sometimes it would be a smash cut, and then sometimes it would fade to black into the next scene. And I was like, why? Because when you fade to black, it almost has the same reason why characters don't say goodbye on the telephone.
Oh, okay.
It's because it immediately gets rid of the emotion. So that's why they're just like, okay, then they hang up. But if they're like, okay, bye, then it just gets rid of that emotion. But when you fade to black during a scene that's like climatic, it just like gets rid of the emotion that was there. And so I was like, nah, I didn't like that. And then I wrote Gladys's death again. It just...
If you're not paying attention, it doesn't... You don't notice it. Because I didn't notice it the first time, but I noticed it the second time.
Like, she died. Mm-hmm. And they're just kind of like, eh. I feel like they could have expanded more on the story and more the impact that they all really had. I also put, they don't know the rules. Like, when in their car, it seems like that they've been traveling with them for a while at this point. And it's like, oh, the faces and heels can't be shown together. But it's like, why don't they know that?
So with that, yes, I get what you're saying, but like Mildred was the seasoned veteran. Mm. June Byers was there, I believe, as well in the car, but it's not so much for them. It's more so like it was basically for Gladys, like because she was like the newest member. Mm-hmm. So that makes sense, and it's definitely for the audience. But because back in the day, like kayfabe was so big. And you couldn't, like, if even just like after the night's over, you can't go and have a drink together if you're a face and a heel. Like, that's not, because it would ruin the illusion of the entire thing. So it definitely was for the audience. And it, like, I think having Gladys say that helped because she was the newest member mm-hmm. of the group. So I get what you're saying, though.
This one I put age. What I hate it when movies do this, and the biggest issue I have with a movie that does it is the X-Men prequel movies. Mm-hmm. By X-Men Dark Phoenix, they're supposed to be like 60, and they all still look 20.
True.
This movie spans over 20 years, and they all look the exact same.
That is true.
Like, especially Mildred's mom.
Yeah, that was... Yeah,
and like she's a grandma and she still looks 30.
Yeah, and that's kind of like my issue with these types of movies is like you have this super impactful story, but you condense it so much that no matter how you do it, it's going to kind of affect how you see it and just kind of take away from part of it. Mm-hmm. And I'll talk about it more when we get to Iron Claw because I think that one... Between the two, I think that one was worse.
What, Iron Claw?
No, as far as like the condensing of it.
Yeah.
But it does kind of lose its luster, you know? So. Because
I feel like, I mean, everyone, over the span of 20 years, you're going to, at least one person's going to change their hairstyle. Mm-hmm. And then people are going to start getting some grays. And I get it, it's like a costume and a wardrobe and a makeup and a hair thing that goes into the budget, but like you're just taking away from the actors and the characters because mm-hmm. the actors, they work better with practicality and being able to do something like, okay, for example, Michael B. Jordan said in Sinners that him putting that like gold tooth on helped him easily switch into the other character. Mm-hmm. If you do something as simple as putting a few white streaks of hair into like Billy Wolf, I guess, that'll help the actor kind of change the maturity of the character because you're changing his physical appearance.
I think I think Billy Wolf was the only one that looked like he aged by the end of the movie. So I think that one worked, but it was like definitely Mildred. And I mean, they used Mildred's son as like a way to show the time difference because at the beginning he was a baby.
But they almost looked like...
And then he was in high school.
They almost looked like they're friends.
Yes.
By the end of it. And it's weird. Especially... And Mildred's mom. Mm-hmm. She's elderly at this point.
Yes.
But she still looks 20 or 30. Mm-hmm. That one threw me off. And then this one... It's a budget thing. But like... The small arenas really just threw me off. Like,
Why?
they were just talking about like how big these events were and like how grand they were and how important they were, but there's like 5 people in the audience. Especially the final one is the smallest arena that they show. There's 3 rows of people.
Yes, and I think they did that to show the kind of intimacy of pro wrestling, and I get what you're saying. And when back then in the territory days, it was more so like smaller arenas. Definitely not like what WWE does today, but it's definitely like smaller arenas. And so back then, back in like the 30s, the 40s, and the 50s, that's what actually like those were big gates. So yeah, back then, because especially like people aren't traveling like they were like they are now to go see somebody. It's like whoever's in your territory is who you're gonna watch, and especially back then, like it wasn't televised, so it's kind of just all local. So that's kind of what that kind of represented. I thought that was done very well, is showing the intimacy of it, but also like explaining the big gates that they had, because back then that's what was a big gate. So yeah.
There you go. Yes, that makes a lot more sense.
So some of my notes, I thought at the beginning when Mildred is trying to be a wrestler, I felt her persistence was really annoying.
I didn't like how she's like, I want to be a pro wrestler, and then as just like, oh, what's that? What is this?
Yeah.
And then she gets in the ring, just like, oh, I know this, but it's like, you didn't know this fundamental, but you know this.
Yeah, there was certain continuity things that I didn't like at all. I thought they did a pretty good job about explaining how horrible of a person Billy Wolf is.
I just felt like that they were trying a little too hard to be like the Elvis movie.
Yeah, I agree. But I mean, that is exactly how it happened. So it just for the movie purposes, yeah, it was a little bit overdone. But like it's like he was a horrible person, and I feel like they didn't show everything, but they more so focused on like the business aspect of it. So there was that. I liked how they, as far as like the wrestling stuff, I liked how they showed a shot of one of the wrestlers getting into the ring and how she wipes her feet. That's a sacred thing that they do in pro wrestling. It's kind of like paying your respects, like how you bow to get into like a dojo. It's the same thing. There was some continuity things that I pointed out immediately, and I was like, that's not right. Tapping out to a submission. Tapping out wasn't a thing in pro wrestling.
They did that a lot.
Yes.
In this movie.
Yes. But it wasn't a thing until the 90s. So ECW legend Taz kind of implemented it, but it didn't really become popular in pro wrestling until Ken Shamrock transitioned into WWE. Then he's the one that was like, hey, like the submission, like we do this in the UFC, like tap out. And that's how that became a thing. So to have it this early on is kind of a continuity error, but it's fine. It's a small detail. But yeah, that was kind of weird. I did like the little montage of Billy Wolf and Mildred training, because it was almost like they were dancing. And Chris Van Fleet says this a lot. He's like, how can you not be romantic about pro wrestling? And I feel like this movie, that specific scene kind of explained that perfectly, because it is kind of like a dance, and then you kind of see them falling in love with each other.
At the beginning? Mm-hmm. So one thing I liked about that was we see Billy Wolf do it again to another woman. Mm-hmm. And then it just kind of feels like it's this is now his go-to move or whatever. Like Ryan Gosling and Crazy Stupid Love does the Dirty Dancing lift. Yeah. Whatever. Like this is like his move, almost like a wolf hunting. Mm-hmm. Like he really felt like he was Predator.
Yeah, and it's that specific scene of him doing it with another female was kind of setting up for the rest of the movie. And it was okay, but I felt like it felt rushed to me.
Yeah, it felt like it could have been a hard right turn.
Yeah.
Or a hard left turn, and it wasn't like it because everything's just going good, it's going smooth. She found someone that wants to marry her.
Mm-hmm.
She's got her career going, and then all of a sudden, this is the first break in her career and future.
Yeah,
and I feel like that they could have. The biggest thing with this movie overall is just emphasis for me.
Mm-hmm.
Like there wasn't enough emphasis on their impact, like how important their story is. Even on the marketing side, like I never saw anything for this movie, and I feel like this was such like Mildred was like the first female millionaire for sports, and like I feel like her story could have been really nationally recognized if this movie was in different hands.
Yeah, I completely agree. I wish it had more of a theatrical release for it because it's a great story overall. I didn't think the film did it justice.
I still think it's a good movie. I don't really think I don't think it did well at what they were trying to do, which is why I gave it a low rating, like a lower rating. I wish that you can like have two different ratings on Letterboxd as like an overall and then a rating for what the film is trying to do.
Yeah.
Like a general one and then what the film is trying. Because a general one, I'd probably given this like 2.5. But for what this film was trying to do, I feel like I'd give it a 3. Because like it has the intentions,
yes,
just doesn't really have the execution.
Yeah, I felt like it didn't. The first time I watched it, I was like super excited to watch it, and so I gave it a 4.5. And then after watching it the second time, I dropped my rating because I just found some stuff that I just didn't like about it. And it's hard to do with these types of movies when you're spanning a big time frame because you lose out on a lot.
Which I find so weird that it is so hard to do a movie like this, like with such a wide time frame. It's like it seems almost impossible. Forrest Gump. How that movie doesn't feel rushed.
Yeah.
Everything fits perfectly and it tells a story for like 20 years.
Yeah.
More than 20 years, like 30, 40 years. True. And it's not much longer, if not maybe a little bit shorter than this movie.
Yeah, that is true. Some more notes that I had. I did like how they did, even though it was pretty sleazy and horrible, how they showed kind of Billy Wolf's grasp on the women. How he can just kind of get them to do anything. And that was kind of like a stigma for a lot of wrestlers back in the day, was just like, you do this for me and then I'll make you a star type of thing.
I did really like that scene where Gladys goes up to Mildred and is like, are you okay with this? With her like cheating or with him cheating on her with Gladys. And then she's like, I don't really care, but like that's a bad, don't do that. And then she's kind of like, but I feel like if I don't, then he's going to cut me. And then she's like, you use your body for the ring. And just kind of leaves it open for interpretation for her. I thought that was a good exchange between them. A good scene. There's a lot of scenes that just stand out in this movie. And it almost makes the rest of it worse. Because it's almost like, this is really good. But then what happened?
And then others just kind of fall flat.
Yeah.
I did like the scene where they're part of the NWA committee and Mildred is there, and then some guy just starts talking, and then she's like, "Who are you?" And then Jim Cornette's character, the commissioner, says, "That's Vince McMahon," and so that's Vince McMahon Sr. And I like how they incorporated Vince McMahon Jr. and how what I thought was funny about that specifically is how Vince McMahon Sr. says his son asks why promoters are writing themselves into storylines. I found that very funny because that's exactly what Vince McMahon did in the 90s, is wrote himself into the storyline multiple times. So they thought that, especially with like Steve Austin during the Attitude Era, I thought that was super funny. Babs Wingo's promo when after they kind of split and they created their own thing, and then it's Mildred and Babs fighting for the title, and then the two others come in and kind of ruin everything, and then she picks her up and she turns face, and that promo was so powerful, and because it kind of spanned several different aspects of not just pro wrestling and like women in pro wrestling, but also her, and it was done really well, and it was probably one of the most impactful parts of the movie.
I like that scene when she, at the end, when she pops her knee out, and then her son pops it back in, and then they're like looking at her, and she just says, "Tape it up."
Yeah.
I was like, that was pretty cool.
Yes.
That's pretty cool.
Something else I thought was super interesting was before the press conference before the final match of the movie, Billy Wolf says, "Hard work pays off. Sometimes dreams come true. Bad times don't last, but bad guys do." That is actually a quote from the late great Scott Hall, who said it during his 2014 Hall of Fame speech. And the way he says it, the way Scott Hall delivers it is done so like impactful. It's become one of the most like revered quotes, because like he was one of the like bad guys with Kevin Nash, Hulk Hogan in WCW for the NWO. So that line is so good. Hard work pays off. Dreams come true. Bad times don't last, but bad guys do. It's so good.
I wonder if Chael Sonnen would have said that.
He has.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yes.
Okay, never mind.
He has. And I think he said it in his Hall of Fame speech.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
The Chael P. Sonnen never lost a round, never lost a fight?
Yes. I believe he said it in his Hall of Fame speech.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. So it just shows like that kind of stuff transcends pro wrestling itself into other things. So, which is nice.
Well, I mean, Chael does take from...
Yes, he does take a lot from it, even though I don't like him right now. But yeah, he does.
Chael is a UFC fighter, former UFC fighter.
Yes. And now
formal champ in our hearts.
Yes. All right. So quickly, you want to just go over cinematography, sound design, score, and what your thoughts were on it?
The cinematography I thought was a little lackluster. Nothing really stood out to me. It didn't really sound like they're trying to tell the story with the cinematography, more of just, or the shot composition, like at all. Just more let the story tell its story, let the characters do their thing, which is fine. You don't need to use the color. You don't
I
need
like
to
the
do
yellow
anything.
vintage hue.
I mean, it makes sense because it's like the golden age, and Iron Claw does it too. Iron Claw does it a different way, which I do like.
Yes,
and
they do.
I have a lot to say about that.
Okay.
Because it was so cool. But I thought the cinematography was just kind of, it was standard. It's fine. You don't have to have a dolly zoom every 5 seconds or a Dutch low angle orbit. You don't need it. It's just textbook. Textbook is fine. That's why it's textbook. The sound design I thought was it was piercing at some points, and then sometimes it was a little just textbook.
So with the sound design specifically, what I liked about it is that it emphasized the crowd noise.
Yeah.
And the grunting in the match itself.
That's why the crowd noise threw me off, because it was a lot louder than it should have been. Because actually there was one scene at the very end where the music is taking over, and the music is telling its story through this final fight, and then they're talking to each other, but the music is too loud because you're supposed to be wrapped up in the music. We had a technical difficulty. So the music is like you're getting sucked up in it, and then they talk, and then you can't hear them. And someone's like, what did they say? And then it just kind of takes away from the scene. I would have rathered if it was totally silent, and just if they kind of slowed the pacing, maybe not slow motion, but if they because for what they were going for, I think they shouldn't have said anything. Okay, so with that, I don't agree, because when they're talking in the match, and then the music's kind of loud, and you get the crowd noise as well,
I actually like that because it's how like actual pro wrestling is they talk to each other throughout the match.
Yeah.
So and to the point, and so what I liked about it is how everything else was loud, but then all you hear them talking normally. It's kind of very similar to how it's done now. So or how it's always been done is you just kind of throw some words out there. John Cena is like famous for doing this, like calling matches like super loudly. But I think that was actually done very well, and it actually was very accurate to what pro wrestling is.
I thought the fact that they were talking was fine. It was just the music over it.
I think that was just to emphasize the them being low enough to where the crowd isn't hearing what they're saying. So that's kind of my take on it, but I mean that's fine too.
I thought the music was repetitive. Like I kind of get what they're going for. They're kind of going for like Rosie the Riveter type of. It's kind of what they were doing with Mildred's character. Mm-hmm. But it felt like it was just the same song playing over and over again. It almost kind of didn't make like every time they play a song, it was almost just kind of like, oh, this is the same thing basically again.
Mm-hmm. One of the major songs that was in it was done by Corey Taylor from Slipknot, along with Bad Omens, which is a really good song. And you almost can't.
What song was?
Yeah, if you don't pay attention, it's kind of hard to miss.
Duality.
Yeah, definitely not. But also Danny Worsnop was part of like the soundtrack as well. So which is really cool, and I like how they just used gritty rock.
Yeah.
To kind of emphasize a few things. So, all right. Now, what I like to do with movies like this that are based on a true story is I like to see what the film got right and what they changed. So, from what I found, based off of the book in real life, what they got right was Mildred Burke's status as a pioneer and top draw in women's wrestling. I mean, she was the first female athlete to be a millionaire.
I wish Walton Goggins' character got a little more praise for coming up with the theatricalness.
Yes, I did too.
Not much more, because obviously not taken away from Mildred's story, but like these coincided with each other, so I feel like they could have boosted each other's. But it was just kind of like, oh, I just came up with the formula for the pro wrestling for the entire future.
Right. Yeah, I agree.
But it was just kind of like, yeah, I just did that.
Right. Her conflict with Billy Wolf. He was the promoter. He was her husband, and I thought that was done really well and explained things pretty well. I think some of it could have been a little bit more emphasized, but it's okay. The systematic sexism and bans on women's wrestling, like it really was banned in multiple states. New York and California were the two that held out the longest. California before New York, but that was nice to actually show that. Her creation of a women's wrestling promotion, that's true. And she also had a school as well. What they changed, there were some fictionalized scenes such as her mother introducing her to wrestling. The timeline compression and simplified relationships kind of took away from parts of the story. The romantic elements dramatized for narrative flow. Side characters, arcs, and historical events rearranged or omitted, which it's kind of what usually happens.
Standard.
It's standard with these types of movies. Some modern wrestling aesthetics were kind of included. Back then, it was more so like wrestling was more so slower paced. Used a lot more of like technical wrestling, not so much like there was a few slams, but it was mostly technical wrestling. It wasn't like crazy moves like you see nowadays with like 450 splashes and stuff like that. And
450 splash?
Yeah, you jump off the top rope and do 450 degrees flipping, and you land on your opponent.
You splash.
Yeah, it's a splash. Yeah. Or like a frog splash.
That's a cool name. Frog splash?
Yeah.
How many splashes are there?
There's a couple. But the 450 and the frog splash are probably the most.
Do you
famous.
remember how in Ted when he just starts listing off like women's names? Mm-hmm. Do you do that with moves?
No,
that'd be a good.
No,
good
if I watched the WCW promo that Chris Jericho did about the 1,001 holds, I probably could. Yeah, he had like a whole list, and it went on to commercial break, and he was still going. Yeah, it was just making stuff up, and then every like I mean he wasn't making stuff up, but like every third one would be like arm bar, and then he would say like camel clutch, arm bar. He would just keep doing that. It was so funny. But if I watched that, I probably could. So that was kind of what they got right and what they got wrong. It is based off of a book, so I think the biggest thing that kind of bothered me was the use of modern wrestling in this time frame. It didn't really make sense, and it's small, like it's a small detail, but it kind of bothered me. But overall, I think it's a really good movie. Mm-hmm. I have some.
I enjoyed it.
Questions for you that we can answer.
Like quiz questions?
No. It's just kind of like our opinions.
Okay.
Did the film do justice to Mildred Burke's story or soften her legacy for Hollywood appeal?
Soften for Hollywood appeal. I feel like it didn't do.
I'm kind of in the middle on that.
Yeah, because I feel like it didn't. It did the story justice, but not in its entirety.
True. Yes.
And I don't think they intentionally softened it.
No. It's just how these movies are done. Like you can't hit everything. You know.
Especially with this, I didn't realize how riveting and just extreme this story was.
Yeah, but with these movies, I like when they at the end they kind of explain the next couple of years.
Yeah,
and especially this movie, I really liked how they put like the actress or actor that played the character and then the real life photo. That's really great.
I like when
it was really well done.
I remember the first movie I watched where they did that. It was Everest, the Josh Brolin movie. Mm-hmm. That movie kind of no one talks about that movie ever.
No,
I enjoyed that movie.
Yeah. All right. Do modern wrestling fans relate to Burke's pioneering story, even if the styles differ?
Yeah. Like still?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think so.
100%. Without Mildred Burke, I don't think we would get wrestlers like, Lita, Trish Stratus, Alundra Blaze, the Bella Twins, Becky Lynch, Charlotte Flair.
So do you think she was the Gorgeous George for the women?
I think she was more. So Gorgeous George was very popular for his time frame, and with the inclusion of television, it kind of helped. And he did inspire a lot.
Flair,
like definitely
Muhammad Ali.
Yes, because you see like Gorgeous George wearing like the robes and stuff, and that's what Ric Flair used and things like that. Muhammad Ali done the same way. Bob Dylan definitely. I think a more.
Okay, wait. I have a thought on this. Then I feel like Mildred herself inspired, and still does inspire so many. But I feel like Gorgeous George inspired a select few who branched out and inspired more people.
Yes, so Gorgeous George, I think, definitely inspired like the theatrical, like dramatized look of pro wrestling, where like now, especially like during WrestleMania season in WWE, like the ring entrances are very over the top and just so dramatic, especially with like attire and things like that. So yes, I do think that like Gorgeous George had a huge impact on that, because even like after that, like, you really wasn't a whole lot. Like, I mean, Hulk Hogan when he maybe yellow and red, and then like the little feather thing, Andre the Giant was very simple, and then like even like through the Attitude Era, there wasn't a whole lot. Like the Hardy Boys were very dramatic with their look. But like really until early 2000s, late 2000s, that's when we kind of started getting way more. I'm not saying there wasn't any before that, but like way more just flashy. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So yeah. And then should biopics prioritize emotional engagement over strict historical accuracy? I think this.
I think it's a compromise.
I do too.
Because I feel like Ironclaw leans more towards the emotional side because of Kevin. Because I feel like Kevin's only the thing that he said about this movie when they asked him about it. He said just he's like, I just want it to be known that I love my brothers. And so I feel like that's what they kind of draw on for the movie.
Yeah.
For the emotional impact of like him and trying to relate that. So that's why.
Yeah. I also think that like for like if you want to go strict historical accuracy, do a documentary.
Yeah.
Like this is for Hollywood, so you would want people to come see it. It's going to be dramatic and things like that.
They're going to turn stuff into subjective stuff, which Ironclaw does a lot, which I really liked.
Yeah.
Is that your foot I just hit?
Yes, it is.
All right.
But yeah, overall, great movie. It wasn't as good the second time around watching it, but
I don't know what it is. The planes change your opinion on movies so drastically, and it's so weird.
I did watch it on the plane to Norway, and
I
gave a lot of 4.5 stars.
Yeah,
on the
I watched was it Inglourious Bastards the first time on a plane, and I didn't like it. Watched it off of a plane, loved it.
Interesting. Yeah, that definitely
is weird. I don't know what. Every time I watch a movie on a plane, I have a different opinion, completely different opinion. Later, it's weird.
Interesting.
Anyway, we're ready for
So
A24's The Iron Claw.
Yes. One second. Let me pull up my notes.
I wrote
a lot of notes, but
I think I wrote a lot of notes for this. And one thing I did realize about this is how, because people say that it's I don't understand the hate for this movie at all. People say it's cry porn. People say, which is like, what? It's a sad story. What do you mean?
Yes.
The real story was even more sad.
Yes.
And then people also say that it's there's like a weird thing with their like masculinity. But the reason that how they wrote this was to be like a Greek tragedy.
Yes.
And they look Greek-like because it's, I mean, there's sport that the Greeks did the most was like wrestling, different wrestling, but like still, they try to make them seem more like godly-ish, maybe not godly, but more powerful, and that's why kind of going into the cinematography a little bit before we like fully talk about it. There's so many low-angle shots where they try to have them fill up the screen as much as possible, which I thought was so interesting, considering the format they do is a 1-to-1 format, but to do something like that, you should do a 4:3 aspect ratio, which the black bars are on the left and right side instead of like top and bottom or not present at all. But if you do it on the left and right side, then you can fill that space, and they don't do that. And they still fill up the space with these low angle shots, which is known as the hero shot. And there's so many of them, and that itself like tells its own story, like showing their stature and size. Yeah.
So Iron Claw, it was released in 2023. Director Sean Durkin. It follows the real life story of the Von Erich family, and then the setting is Texas. From the late 1970s to the early 90s. So still like just like Queen of the Ring, a large time frame is spent. So I would say before we even get into this, if you're going ahead watching it now, cool. If not, go watch Iron Claw and then go watch on Hulu Dark Side of the Ring season 1, the episode on the Von Erich family, and then go watch on HBO Max the Hollywood Demons episode on the Von Erich family, because that one takes place, or that one talks more so like including the movie itself. So, which that one was done really, really well and actually taught me more about like the actual story itself, because I grew up learning about the Von Erich family. I was always invested in the Von Erich family. And so I was so happy when this movie came out. There are several things that bother me about this movie, which we'll get into. Which I mean, we can go ahead and get into some of that now. Let's just start talking about the cast of this movie. So we have
Stacked.
It is stacked. So we have Zac Efron as Kevin Von Erich, Jeremy Allen White as Carrie Von Erich, Harris Dickinson as David Von Erich, Stanley Simons as Mike Von Erich, Holt McCallany as Fritz, Moira Tierney as Doris, Lily James as Pam.
I think I know the movie that got Lily James casted as Pam.
Which movie?
Baby Driver.
Oh.
I think she has like a similar type of accent in both. And she has there's similarities in both those characters. I think Baby Driver got her casted for this. She did really good.
Yeah. Already though,
she has one of my favorite scenes in this movie actually. She has two of them. Should I say them now?
Let's wait. Cuz Zac Efron, I think he did a great job, but he got too big for this movie. Way too big. And his physique was more so what Carrie looked like. Carrie in real life he looked like Hercules. Like he was a giant and...
after seeing like the real footage of Carrie, because they do show real footage of Carrie wrestling in the movie. I don't know. I mean, Jeremy Allen White did amazing, but like he is nowhere near the height or the size.
No, and that was another like Jeremy Allen White. Like while he did a good job, like he didn't fit the look of Carrie at all. But I mean, Harris Dickinson did good as David Von Erich. Like he had the height, he had the look, like he looked like him. Stanley Simons played. All right, it's more technical difficulties.
Yeah, that was my bad.
Anyway,
my fault.
Stanley Simons did a great job as Mike Von Erich. Holt did a great job as Fritz. Ish.
I got a thing about that.
I do too. But overall, I think he did a good job as far as like the look and things like that. Moira, I hated her character. I hated Doris. Absolutely hated it. And to the point where...
Really?
Yeah, to the point where now if I see her in anything else, it just bothers me.
Why?
I don't know. We'll get into like the characters itself as to like what we liked and didn't like, but I hated her character in this movie.
I didn't like her the first time I watched it, and I almost really didn't like her the second. But this time I liked her.
I didn't. She bothered me so much, and like I have my reason, but we can get into it later. Okay.
What do you want to start with?
So I kind of want to just kind of get my wrestling kind of stuff out of the way.
I'll just go take a nap real quick.
Yeah. So the wrestling advisor for this movie was Chavo Guerrero Jr., part of the great Guerrero family. He was the coordinator and stunt consultant. He also played the Sheik at the beginning of the movie. The first match that we see Kevin in. There's also... Where's my phone? MJF is in this movie. He's in AEW. He's probably one of the biggest D-bags in pro wrestling right now. He's probably a nice guy, but his character itself, like he keeps kayfabe alive, but he's major D-bag. But he plays the forgotten son Lance Von Erich, which I don't know if you knew about that one, but
he's only in it for like 5 seconds.
Yes, which is exactly about how long the actual Lance Von Erich was actually implemented. Like he wasn't a real Von Erich, and everybody knew it. I
do like how they didn't really show that. He's literally only in it for one slow zoom shot.
Yes,
Kevin.
Yeah. So Ryan Nemeth, his brother is Nick Nemeth, otherwise known as Dolph Ziggler. He played Gino Hernandez. I liked how they included Harley Race. The actor did such a good job with Harley Race. It was so good. Because if you watch like real footage, like it's very similar. Bruiser Brody, super impactful pro wrestler back in the day. They mentioned Dusty Rhodes. Ric Flair is in this, and horrible.
I did notice that.
Horrible.
Excuse me.
What are you doing?
My chair got stuck. I did notice that they mentioned Dusty Rhodes, and I was like, oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, like you said, your favorite adaptation was Ric Flair?
No, absolutely. It bothered me so freaking much.
Why?
It's just like, if you watch real footage of Ric Flair back in the day, like he didn't, like, yes, he was dramatic and super dramatic, and he liked to flaunt his wealth and things like that. But like, I felt like it could have been better if they did his like actual like phrase, limousine riding, jet flying, Rolex wearing.
He did do that.
No, he didn't say it the right way.
No.
He did it in a completely different way, and
wait, no, because he's like, I got a limo that's a mile long.
Yeah.
I got leather shoes and a Rolex watch.
Yeah, that was I hated it. And then like even like the famous like Ric Flair strut, I didn't like it. Nothing about the portrayal of Ric Flair was good, except for the big gold belt and the robe. So that's all I'm gonna say on that one, because I don't like talking bad about like stuff like that, but like that was just bad.
I don't like talking bad about it. Proceeds to crash out.
Yeah. But yeah. Okay. So
that died. I just realized that.
Oh. We can talk about cinematography first.
All right. You went on a tangent for a minute. Here we go. I immediately want to go with this one. I didn't really notice. I kind of noticed, but this time I really noticed a lot. There are so many overlays with this, with whether it be the music that overlays with certain stuff. For example, when Mikey kills himself, it's showing the shot of him taking the pills, and then it shows a shot of him sitting in his bed, and then a shot of him sitting in his bed strumming his guitar, like trying to play Live Forever. And like he's just trying to play, and then it shows Kevin and Carrie training, and then it keeps cutting back and forth between all of them, all these overlays on top of each other. And then there's one specific shot right after Kevin, Carrie, and David first wrestle together. It cuts to the locker room, and then we see David is injecting steroids in his butt.
Yeah, and it's a super close-up shot with it, too.
And then low opacity overlay of Kevin, his face, and then a low opacity overlay of Carrie. And it's just all of them just overlaid. But there's just so many shots like that where they'll either do like a long fade transition from one shot to the next, but it's almost like it's just staying there, just these overlays. And I thought that was really cool, and I liked that a lot.
One of my favorite shots was
I know my favorite shot.
Which one is it?
There's shots where they leave stuff out of focus. And then I'll kind of go into some shots that they do like that. But it's the shot just before the Ric Flair match when Kevin is training by himself in the gym.
That's my favorite shot.
And he's hitting the ropes.
Yes, that's my favorite shot.
Yeah.
It is so good.
It's just so...
Like
it almost feels 3D.
Yeah, and I feel like that was in the trailer, and if part of me thinks that was done for the trailer, but like it told so much with so little. In my opinion,
I never really understood why they did that tonal shift right there. Because it's like, at this point, I think Mikey had just died.
Yes.
So Mikey just died. Kevin's not going home. He's staying in the gym and just working because it's the only thing that kind of gets him off of it. But at the same time, all he wants to do is wrestle with his brothers. So the only way for him to escape is still making him think about his brothers. And then we almost feel this shift of it goes from wrestling to his personal life, and it just keeps doing that, which is more of a realistic tell of this story. But it's almost like he needs something to keep his mind off of it. So we just see this self-isolation, and then we see the Ric Flair match come up, and then that just becomes so important because, and I never really understood why they did it till this time. It's because it's showing him like how dialed in he is to this, how he just is trying to get his mind off of everything, and so he just fully is like engaged into this. All priorities on this, but you can still tell that like everything reminds him of his brothers.
Right.
So he's still struggling with it, but this like self-isolation with it, and those shots are just amazing.
Yes. I even like the very beginning, how it opened up on the sportatorium.
The opening shot, the cold opening was amazing.
Yes.
And of just the score, like the
yes.
And then Fritz just like stomping on the guy, and then
using black and white.
Yeah. To show
the times, but there was also some overlay on that as well, which I thought was really cool. It was really done very, very well. Like the beginning is so good,
and then just the Iron Claw.
Yes, yeah, it was done really, really well. There were several things like shot wise that were really good, but like I also didn't really like it all that much. It's very like I'm not even gonna talk about it because it's so small that it's not that big of a deal.
Just go.
I would say like I didn't care for the overhead shots of them in the locker room.
I like those.
Really? I did. It felt weird, and I felt like it showed their heights, which bothered me mainly because of Jeremy Allen White being kind of short, and compared to like the other brothers, it showed their heights because I know like throughout the movie the way they shot it, like they kind of made it to where they would show their actual heights and stuff like that. So that one specifically, just when I watched it this last time, I was like, that just doesn't look right to me. That was probably the biggest one, I think.
So the reason why I like those shots is because throughout the entire movie, especially when they're wrestling, it's these low hero shots, and just to show like how grand they are and like really showing their presence. But during vulnerable scenes, like when David is throwing up, everything is level, and they're sitting at the same height to show that they're one and the same. They're both their peers, and they don't value each other over themselves. But the high angle shots, they do those a lot after the matches to show like their vulnerability, I guess, and to show their like that they are just people. But they do it in a way to where it's almost like they look the same height, but they're not, obviously. And the only other times that they show like those shots are vulnerable moments, like when Kevin is sleeping. It's high angle shots. It just shows them in their vulnerable moments with high angle shots. And then one thing I noticed a lot was there are so many oneers in this movie where they're just like 3-minute long one takes, just a oneer. And something that they do, which I liked a lot, I don't know if it was directly inspired, but based off of Taxi Driver, there's a scene where Travis Bickle answers the phone, and then we see the camera, instead of pan away, it dollies away down to the hall, almost like someone's coming through. But it does this so we don't have to experience the pain with Travis. We're just hearing it because it's too painful for us to watch for him.
Okay.
So they do that a lot in this, especially at the end. Carrie just died. The only one left is Kevin. And it just sits there in the hall as Fritz walks in. And he's like, is there no dinner? And then we hear Doris talking, and it's not showing her because it's too painful to like show her character because she can't express her emotion because Fritz is very, don't cry, don't do this.
Right.
And then we finally like see her, and we see just really like how much pain she's in.
Okay.
And then they also do this with like out of focus shots, like with Kevin bouncing off the ring, where it just lets the camera just sit at its normal focal point, and then characters will move in and out. Another one that does it is right after Mikey dies. It's at the funeral, which is actually one of my favorite scenes with, actually, these two scenes back to back, basically, with Lily James, when she, as Pam, when she goes to get Dolores, and Dolores is like just staring at the dress like, I can't put it on. It's like she's trying to find an excuse.
Yes.
As she's like coping. And I really like that scene with both of them a lot. And she's like staring in the mirror, and she's like just silently putting on her dress and like shedding a tear. That was like one of the most well acted scenes, I thought.
I do agree with that, because that was probably a really impactful scene, super emotional, and that was probably one of the only scenes that she was in that I liked. Okay, well, I'll just get it out of the way. I didn't like this character because she was just first of all, she was already checked out. That's not how it was in the real story. Like, she didn't really check out until after Chris, who's not even in this movie, dies.
When did he die? Between which brothers?
After Mike, before Carrie.
Okay.
Yeah. And so then she was checked out. But like right off the bat, she's just in this movie, she's just so checked out and just like,
he's like, hey mom, can I talk to you about something? No, that's what your brothers are for.
Yeah, it bothered me so much because she was just such a like, it just made her seem like a horrible person. Like, and I get the impact of the tragedies, but like we weren't fully there yet. And just her character, just I didn't like it at all. But the scene after with the dress, I thought was done so well, and it like really showed like the impact of everything that's happening. So I mean, that was probably the only scene that I really liked with her in it. But yeah, I just want to get that out there.
But so the scene at David's funeral, Lily James, she's like crying because she's like, she's broken at this point because of like how involved she is with their family, and she's crying, and then she looks over at Kevin, and then Kevin is like conditioned to not like, show emotion during this, and then it just she looks at him, and then they take a beat, and then they change the focal point to focus on Kevin, and then we just see Pam's pain in the back out of focus.
Yeah.
I thought that was really interesting to try to do something like that, and I thought it was executed really well.
Going off of that, the with them saying pretty much like, don't cry, I feel like that was kind of like the stigma back in the day, but also regarding the Von Erichs specifically, that's like them subtly showing kayfabe of like, because back in the day, they were legit celebrities, and they were super important to the state of Texas. And you see it with like some of the funeral scenes where they're kind of driving the hearse in the cars, and then there's thousands of people. That was true. There was thousands of people lined up to show their respects and stuff like that. So for them to not cry in the face of tragedy to keep up kayfabe, I thought was a nice touch. And for like the wrestling aspect of it, and it probably was like the way it was back then. But yeah, even just like Queen of the Ring, this is territory days before Vince McMahon kind of took over the wrestling industry, and so the Von Erichs were so important to the state of Texas, and I thought that was done really well, specifically just like the not crying and keeping with kayfabe.
So I also have one thing I noticed was there's a lot of silhouette shots. I feel like that could be interpreted in different ways. I kind of thought of that as more showing like their stature, like a statue. Going back to the Greek tragedy thing. And then I also noticed with these Warners, especially when Carrie goes to visit them on Christmas, when he pulls out the gun in the gun case, if it was a different cinematographer director, it would have been shot of Carrie opening the door, shot of Kevin's reaction, probably, and then everyone else's reaction, and then just cutting back and forth. But they just let the camera just sit there, and then they just let the characters tell their story. And I like that a lot, how they just let their characters have the moments. And then during the scenes where Kevin is in isolation training, then they let the cinematography tell the story. It was more, which well, I thought that was really cool because instead of having a blend of both, it feels more like a wrestling match. You're letting one thing tell the story, and then you're letting the other person tell the story. It's not one thing in particular.
Right.
Like, kind of, I guess, what Queen of the Ring did was just letting the characters and the story tell itself. And then this was using both, like a back and forth, like a wrestling match. And I thought that was really innovative and interesting.
And I think what made that work so well is like actors actually learned how to wrestle. And so it was wrestling wasn't the focus of this movie. It was the family, and then there just happened to be wrestling involved. But so like the wrestling matches were very short and sweet, and like let's get through it. But like those were all done like for the most part like all the way through like at once. And then they just kind of shot it that way. So I think that really helped emphasize what you were just talking about. So yeah.
And then I think this is the last big thing I have for the color grading mixed in with it is the beginning of the movie is very warm, very bright. And then David dies. And then the color changes a little bit. It becomes a little more cool, a little more flat. Not much, just a little bit. But in the ring, it stays warm. And then David dies. And it gets a little cooler. The house feels less empty. It looks more empty. And then in the ring, it's not as warm. And then Carrie dies. And the house is like there's no lights on. Everything feels flat. Everything feels blank. And how they showed the color grading with the emotion behind it was amazing. And then my favorite shot where they implemented the color grading with the cinematography and the storytelling is at the beginning of the movie, going through the house. There's these establishing shots of a cross and then a family photo of all of them. And everything feels warm, bright, happy. And at the end of the movie, after Carrie dies, it does it again, but everything is cold. It feels flat and just empty. And that was like, I was like, wow, that's incredible.
Yeah.
They really showed the emptiness of the house and of everything.
Yeah, I definitely think that was done really well, and it definitely showed the loss. Like you felt the loss throughout the entire movie, and
you felt it. It was kind of like you could feel the movie, and then right when David dies, or right when they talk about their oldest brother who died, it feels like there's like a hole punch. And then the next thing happens, David's death. Then it gets a little bigger. And then David dies, and then Mikey dies and it gets bigger. And then Carrie dies, and then it just keeps expanding. I thought that was really cool and interesting.
Yeah.
And then I think that's all I have for the shots and cinematography that I noticed.
Okay. So sound design, score, soundtrack. Sound design I really liked because especially during the wrestling matches, it emphasized the mat, like when they're hitting the mat, and it made you feel like you were there. Because if you were to go to like a real wrestling show, one, you're not going to hear commentary, which you didn't hear commentary, which was nice. And then all you hear is the smack of the mat, and it's super loud and thunderous, and it was done really, really well. And then it just there were multiple times when it got silent, and you could just cut the silence with a knife, and especially during like the tragic times of the movie,
like when they implement like everything in one. When Kevin is training by himself before the Ric Flair fight, there's this like subtlety, is that even a word? I don't know, to the score that is playing, and it's just drawing out the shot. And then, or when he's training Mikey for the first time, they do it a lot. It's these slow zooms, one shot, just slow zooms from the bottom of the ring, like through the ropes, and then just letting the character tell the story. And And they do it a lot, but they do it at least once, like a match. And then when Kevin is training by himself, you really feel that the score tell the story. They let every aspect of the movie tell the story in itself. And then in certain moments it's like an amalgamation, which I don't even think I said that right, of everything at once. I thought that was really good.
Yes. The score and the soundtrack were so good. Like, especially the soundtrack. Like, that's my type of music. Tom Sawyer, Don't Fear the Reaper.
Yeah. Oh, that one. I love that shot of when Don't Fear the Reaper plays, and it's just like everyone in town like walking to this arena, and it's just this long like dolly tracking shot of like following different people, and then you just like kind of get a quick glimpse. Oh, that guy has a cooler. There's like a bunch of kids playing, and then there's like a couple right there.
It just shows
you feel like the community.
Yes, yeah. It just shows like the community itself. Just like, even if they're not huge fans, like they're gonna support what's going on in their community, and especially with having like even like in the church scene, everybody's like talking to Fritz and like the boys and stuff like that, and it just shows like the level of support that the Von Erichs had itself from their community.
Yeah, and I do like when. Wait, I don't remember what that was. It's gone. Lost it.
Okay. Well, I kind of want to talk about like the historical context of this movie.
Got it.
Okay. What?
The song that Mikey plays throughout the movie at the beginning, which I don't remember, it was you or Mikey. This was not funny. After we watched the movie, during the scene, he finishes their like band rehearsal, and then he's like, you can hear him like practicing the song that they're gonna play at their gig at the frat party or whatever it was, and then they like show up and he's like, yeah, I'm hungry. You want to go eat? And then he's like, I'll get a burger with you, little brother. Right after we watched the movie, Dad was like, you want to go eat? Or I said, like, are we going to go eat? And then you or Mikey, like, looked at me and was like, I'll go get a burger with you, little brother.
Yeah, that was probably Mikey. Yeah. But we did go eat burgers after that.
Yeah, we did. I got a Royale with cheese.
Yes.
That's what it was called in the menu.
Yes.
I was like, great movie. But that song is amazing.
It was, I think that's an original song.
Points.
I think it's an original song
for
the movie. It is a really good song, and I think it definitely, no matter, like, because you get the happiness when he's rehearsing it, you get the happiness when he's actually playing at the college.
And they're all like embracing.
Yes, and then it's the same song, but it's sad. Like, it like turns sad.
The meaning changes throughout the movie because we hear it again at the party, and it's like, live that way forever. Like, yeah, just living in the moment, living for this, whatever. And then we hear we hear Mikey strum it before he ODs, and it's almost like he wants to just go back to being normal. And then we hear it at the very end with Kevin, and it's like each of them kind of had their own version of the song.
Right.
Because the first time we hear it, it's David's interpretation, like, oh, I want to be in the moment with my brothers. And then it's Carrie, and he's just kind of like having the most fun, being the most joyous or whatever.
Yeah, being super supportive.
And then we hear Mikey's interpretation where he's just like, I don't want to live in the now, I want to live in the past. Because it almost seems like he's like falling upwards throughout this movie. And then at the end we hear Kevin's interpretation, and it's like a full professional, I guess, like a professionally done version of the song, and him just watching his son throw the football, and he's like, he wants to live like that way with his brothers forever. Yeah. It was
that song fit so well for this movie, and it did, like, it helped with the emotional impact of everything that happened.
And then one thing I really liked that they did is there's a thing about your characters crying in film or TV is, for example, if you watch SNL, like older SNL, and they're like struggling to be serious and they're like trying not to laugh, it's funnier. It's because they're holding it in. So you feel like you need to laugh for them. But in a movie, if a character is holding back tears, you feel the need that you need to cry for them. So that's why it's tugs at your heartstrings or whatever.
Okay.
But what's interesting about this is that they're told is that you as the audience member are also told to not cry. Mm-hmm. And then at the end, you see Zac Efron is just letting it out. And then you as an audience member feel like you are finally allowed to do the same. Mm-hmm. And it's this weird contradicting thing that just worked so well. And I thought it was...
That's a good point.
Perfect.
I didn't pick up on that at all. But that is a good point. Because that's kind of like the part where I lose it when I watch the movie. Not like full blown like crying, but like it really just hits me.
The part that gets me at first is when Carrie dies, and then he sees the brothers.
Yeah, that's when it starts, and then it just kind of full circle, kind of just at the end of the movie. Like the last 30 minutes of this movie are so sad, and it's probably one of the saddest endings I've ever seen.
Honestly, it's like the last 45 minutes.
Yeah,
because the last 45 minutes is when David dies. David dies in like an hour 5, and the movie's like barely 2 hours.
Oh.
Yeah, it goes.
I guess those two kind of, the three kind of go quickly. That's another thing with just like these types of movies, like it's so condensed, like so much happens in their lives in real life.
Yeah, Kevin had kids.
Yes.
And they were
Carrie had kids. Well, they all had kids. I think David had kids too, or he was married.
But like in this movie, Kevin had kids that were like pretty old by the end of the movie. They were like 8.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He got married.
Yeah.
During this.
So yeah.
That girl got married and had kids.
And there's a lot about like that kind of stuff that I want to talk about. Like when we kind of discuss like what they got right, what they got wrong. Mm-hmm. But like for me specifically, talking about like the historical context of this film. So the Von Erich family was very essential to like Texas pro wrestling in the territory days, especially with like world-class championship wrestling, which is the precursor to WCW, World Championship Wrestling, which was bought out by Ted Turner back in the day. That's what started by that time WWF was already established, and it was like that's what started the Monday Night Wars, which is great, just all around like war between two companies. Some stuff kind of fell flat, but it was okay. So that was cool for them to incorporate that. They also incorporated the NWA, just like in Queen of the Ring. It just shows how important the NWA was and is to this day. And then just like showing the regional character driven stuff with the wrestling. It's not super flamboyant, like still no high flying stuff. Like you see Kevin jump off the ropes a couple times, but like it's not super flamboyant. It's very simple. Same thing with like Queen of the Ring, just like simple moves, arm drags, and just technical wrestling, which is nice. One thing that I wish they would have emphasized more was the Von Erichs versus the Freebirds. Though that's like probably their most famous feud, and it's like the Trios Championship, which was brought back in AEW by Tony Khan. But I wish they would have emphasized that more because it was so important to the Von Erich histories. Mm-hmm. I like how they included like saying, because everybody's always said that the Von Erichs were cursed. So which is, I'm glad that they put that in there. It also, this movie does show like the pressure to be successful, especially when your dad is Fritz, and you're going to do whatever it takes. And it doesn't romanticize pro wrestling. It kind of shows the sadness of pro wrestling, especially back in the day where you're on painkillers, you're taking steroids because it's back in the day, it's like that's the body look. It was your body look. It wasn't necessarily skill. Skill helped, but it was like what you looked like. So the steroid use, the painkillers, because you didn't want to miss anything on the road or in matches and stuff like that. Because back then, instead of just having like a contract for being and getting paid like a salary, it was like you get paid based off of the gate and what you draw and the position you're in. So everybody's fighting for that position. You don't want to be hurt and out and not make money. So I like that they explained that or showed that they're small details, but like for us wrestling fans, I feel like it's very obvious, but I like that a lot. So all of those things were super nice touches to this movie.
I was gonna say my biggest issue with it, which is also one of my biggest issues with Queen of the Ring, is that there's no. They do establish how famous they are, but not really.
No.
They really only show it during the funerals.
Yes.
How many people? Which that did remind me of at the end of American Sniper. When you see like the footage of Chris Kyle's funeral.
Yeah.
That's what it reminded me of.
Yeah.
Just because of how many there was just people lined up with like American flags, which kind of to me like kind of showed how much like they were like Texas like Southern heroes.
Yeah, that's pretty much what it was. They were household names back in the day in Texas, and just super important to the state and to that specific territory. And even now, after all the events that occurred, like they're super important to the wrestling world in general. But yeah, they really don't show how important they are. Just like you said, like the funeral scene and then like the church scene and stuff like that. Well, okay, actually they do it a little bit more. So when like Carrie, Kevin, and David are all wrestling together and they're going against like the Freebirds and stuff like that, if you look close enough, and Kevin says this in like the documentaries, but like you see the crowd just, especially like the girls, are just like grabbing at them and stuff like that. And that's exactly how it was. Like they were so popular that they were just like trying to grab at them and just trying to hug them and stuff
like when Tom Sawyer's playing.
Yes,
I love that sequence.
That was so good.
When like Dottie leaves and then Mikey like looks outside and then he plugs in his guitar and starts playing Tom Sawyer, and then we get this. It was definitely it's for the trailer, but this like slow dolly to Carrie, and he's I think he was just doing like hammer curls, and then he just like turns around, and then you hear Tom Sawyer blasting, and then they all of a sudden just that's what they're walking out to, which I feel like it was just like kind of showing their appreciation and like how much they try to protect Mikey.
The movie. And what I liked specifically about the walkout sequence of that was the costume design. Yeah. It was so accurate. They literally pulled a picture and they brought it to life.
I like it. I don't know why you said favorite shot, or would you say favorite something? I don't know. And it just reminded me of at the beginning when Fritz is like, well, Carrie's going to be the first Olympian. You need to start thinking about what you're going to do. He's like, see, Carrie's my favorite, then Kevin, then David, then you.
That was so funny.
The rankings can always change.
Yes, that was really funny, especially for like starting
when we
out.
went and watched it because we were with Dad, and then he just looks over and goes, "Rankings can always change."
Yeah, it was done really. That was so funny. I like that a lot, and it already showed. That was like a good showing of like how Fritz was, even though that's not really how he was in real life. Like he was hard on them, I guess, from what Kevin said, but like not that bad.
I do like how at the beginning it's so happy and joyful, because and then it just makes it rewatching it feel like a memory because of like the warm colors, because it's triggering your brain for nostalgia purposes. Yeah. So when you rewatch it, it just feels like you're living a memory, and then that is just making it so fun at the beginning. So that's why it's so painful at the end.
Right. Yes.
Just great writing.
Yeah. I also liked how when Carrie goes to the WWF at the time, they show real footage. So it's like a match between
I like it when they do that.
Yes, I do too. And I think it makes you connect more. But it was done really well. Also, I noticed this last night when I was watching Queen of the Ring, but June Byers, her nickname in the ring is the Texas Tornado. That's also what Carrie's name was in the WWF.
Oh,
yeah,
that's cool.
Yeah, it was very interesting.
I got reminded when they're showing like the graphics, because usually in a biopic like this, the film will either use the graphics that were used on TV, or they'll make their own, or like whatever. And usually, if it's what was used on TV, then it doesn't fit and it feels weird. But with this, they blend it to make it look how it did, and also like modernizing it slightly just so it's more appealing to the eye.
Yeah,
and they do it perfectly.
Yeah,
the graphics looked awesome.
Queen of the Ring. Speaking on that, Queen of the Ring kind of did a mixture of both.
Yeah,
like they kind of used real footage and real photos, and then it would switch and turn to like the actresses and actors.
I hate it when they do that. I like how they did this.
Use it one or the other. But yeah, Iron Claw, like, and it was so subtle too. Like like you see the boys watching the Texas tornado carry on TV, but then you don't really see anything else of it. You kind of hear it from the background. And then again, when Doris is watching the TV for the memoriam of David, like that match with Kerry for the NWA championship, like you see it a little bit, and then it cuts to Doris watching it, and then you kind of see David in the back on the stairs. I thought that was a nice touch.
And she like turns around.
Yeah, and then he's not there. But like it kind of shows like they're still with you in your heart, which was a nice touch, and
like kind of showing that they still like live in the house.
Yeah.
And then when she turns around, he's not there. It feels empty.
Yeah, and I thought that this movie, what I really really liked about it, especially like us being brothers and like all of my brothers and stuff, like it's nice to show the brotherly love between and the bond between them was so powerful. And it made you connect with it so much more. And
that's why I feel like we have a different relationship with this movie. This is a movie, I like it when a movie like this comes out, because then everyone can have their own relationship with it. For example, I don't know, I immediately thought of Challengers. You can interpret, if you play tennis, then I'm sure then you can connect with that on a different level. Or like with the sportsmanship and like how like important, or like a professional athlete, like watching that, they can connect with it with their own sport. Or like Warrior with two brothers and doing MMA. And then, or like Rocky, a certain demographic can relate towards that, and then other people can interpret that to their own lives. And this movie is kind of one where you can have that special relationship with, that I feel like, I mean, you could do it with Queen of the Ring. It was just, I feel like if the production was better, then it would be, you'd have a different relationship with it. But this is just one of those that you can have, like anyone can have a relationship with.
Right. Yeah, I completely agree. I know we talked a lot about like the good stuff about this movie, but I kind of want to talk about the stuff I didn't like about this movie.
The biggest one for me was the fame thing, and like how much money they were pulling in.
Right.
Because they weren't really talking about that at all.
Yes. So my biggest thing, and I get why they did it, but my biggest thing is omitting certain people out of this movie. Like the fact that Kerry was married and divorced by the time like he was done with like.
It made him feel younger. Like each of the characters feel a lot younger, which I feel like I guess might have helped people like be a little more emotional. Right.
And then like the omission of like the other brother Chris, even though like the character Mike has with this he has like certain tendencies of Chris, and like Chris and Mike are kind of blended together into one character. So I'm glad like that part was included a little bit, and I get why they did it. It's like it's too. They described it as it would be too much for the audience, because it's a lot. It's a lot to take in, especially if you don't know the story.
I didn't know the story.
Yeah, I would 100% want people to watch the movie that don't know the story. Watch the movie first, because I feel like it will help you connect with it more, and then go watch the documentaries. But so having that kind of not involved kind of sucked. And then like Kerry, like his family, like he already had 2 kids at the time. The fact that like it shows that David went to Japan and was the only one, but like they all went to Japan. They all wrestled in Japan. There's actually a really great story in the Dark Side of the Ring documentary that Ross and Mitchell, no, Marshall talk about is that because they're pro wrestlers on the indie scene, they were in AEW for a little bit, but they went to Japan to wrestle, and they were on the rooftop somewhere in Japan, and they saw their dad and
David and
Kevin's initials like out of nowhere. They didn't know it was there. They just saw it, and I thought that was really nice. And I wish that kind of was more explored a little bit, like of all of them going to Japan. But like I get why they did it. And it's a lot to cover in like a 2-hour movie. The speed of the movie itself was kind of a little bit much.
The pacing was weird. Each time I've watched it's been different.
Yes.
First time I felt like it was very slow. Mm-hmm. Second time I was like, this movie's just going by insanely fast. And then that's the last time I was like, feels fine.
Yeah, and like and I think the biggest example of it is when after David dies and Kerry takes his place to fight for the NWA championship and wins the title, and then he kind of, which I like this scene specifically, but like when he's sitting at the table just like hand on the title and just kind of soaking it all in, but like he's kind of wrap his head around like the fact that like it was supposed to be David. And like David's not here anymore, and then Kevin walks in and they kind of talk for a second, and like it's dark and it's just like the light is only on those two, but then like he says he's going for a ride, and that's what they show as him losing his foot.
But it happened during the day, right? And he didn't lose. He only lost like the top half of his foot.
Well, yes. So. And he didn't lose it right out of the gate. Like, so it was during the day. He hit a cop car, and when he flipped over it, the lights of the cop car, his foot got caught underneath, which kind of broke it in half.
All right.
But like he continued to.
That sounds comfortable.
He didn't let it heal properly, so he continued to wrestle and caused more damage, which is what ultimately forced them to amputate it. So that was pretty quick to me. But
he didn't let it what?
Huh?
You said he didn't give it time to
heal. No. So yeah, that part felt a little fast to me. And like I said, I get why they did it, but the shot when he kind of wakes up and takes the painkillers and then goes to the kitchen. I wanted to ask you how they did the foot.
They probably so since the camera was still and it doesn't move because that's the only time that you see the foot not there.
Right.
So they definitely just put a green sock or probably blue, because the thing with green screen is the green reflects a lot and blue doesn't do it as much. So it was probably a blue sock. The camera doesn't move, so they probably just let him walk. And then, or hobble, and then they just have a shot of the kitchen by itself and nothing, and then take it out.
Okay.
But then obviously there's parts where his foot's gonna cross his other leg, so then that's just like remapping it.
Okay. Now what about the shot where he's putting on the prosthetic foot in the boot?
Since they don't show his face, they probably got someone without a leg. Like, you know how in Spider-Man 3, when he punches through Sandman, like straight through his torso? More technical difficulties. So, Spider-Man 3, the one with Tobey Maguire, he punches through Sandman. And how they did that was they got a Muay Thai fighter that didn't have a right hand.
Oh.
And so they just put him in the suit, and then he just punched
interesting.
him.
Okay.
So they probably just got someone that didn't have that part of the foot. That's probably why they did like so high up. Is they probably whoever the other actor that they chose.
Okay.
For that, or they could have just done the green sock again.
Yeah.
Probably not, because the boot doesn't move until he puts his foot in, so it was probably just a double.
Yeah, okay. Well, that that kind of reminded me of like how I wanted to know how that stuff was done, but going back to like that specific scene of him losing his foot was done very quickly, and he didn't really lose it until much later. So, yeah. Okay. Well, let's talk about the fact versus fiction. So, accurate, the family tragedy and chronological order of deaths was mostly right, aside from Chris not being in the movie at all. Wrestling environment and territory system completely right, and stuff again like can kind of tell that we wish we could have seen more fame between them. Kevin's status as the only surviving brother, portrayal of Carrie's injuries and substance use. What I liked, it was very subtle, but they did kind of mention that like no, you can't tell in the ring after, and like nobody knew that he lost his foot until after he died. So he even showered with his boot on. So yeah, to keep it was like his version of kayfabe. So that was a nice little, it was a small detail. But,
well, because I mean they talk about it because he mentions something about his foot, and then Kevin's like, no one notices.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about. It was like, yeah, you can't tell in the ring. Use of authentic wrestling moves and promos accurate. Stuff that was not accurate. Chris Von Erich not being in the movie altogether. Not having Carrie's family, wife and ex-wife by the time he died, and his 2 kids.
And David.
Yes, as well. There was subtle changes to how like some of the deaths
happened,
occurred, and like when.
Because Mikey's was pretty different, right?
No, so he did overdose.
Oh no, Carrie's was different.
Carrie's was different in the sense that in the movie they show Kevin finding him. It was actually Fritz who found him.
Oh.
But he did shoot himself in the heart. That was true. But they didn't show that part necessarily. They didn't show like him being dead.
They don't actually
fully
show any of them dying. Interesting.
No.
That's good though.
Yes.
I feel like I would have been a little distasteful.
Yeah, it definitely would have. I did like how they went with how David actually died. Even though there's this kind of rumor that he was doing a lot of drugs and alcohol and stuff over time, and then like in Japan as well. Like there's a story that like they think because Bruiser Brody found him in his room, and they think that he might have thrown away any evidence of drugs in the room, and that could have been like the biggest factor of how he died. But there's still some people that think it was like the autopsy was doctored. But yeah.
So wasn't it Chris that like he was on top of like a hill?
Yes. Yeah. So Chris, he kind of went manic, I would say. And then like he went to, I think they all lived like on the property. And Chris like called Kevin and was like asking for something, and he just got really like aggressive over the phone, and Kevin it was like late at night, and then Kevin tells the story of like Chris driving a 4-wheeler around his house, and then he ends up on like a hill. Kevin goes out there because he knows that's where he's at.
He like tells him to stay put.
Yeah, stay put. Don't do what you're about to do. And he says, "I'm good." And then he kind of leaves, and then he hears a gunshot, and then that's how Chris dies. So yeah, that was honestly like it's all sad, but watching the documentaries, that one kind of hit the worst for me specifically, just because like Kevin was there before it happened, and then he just kind of left, and then it still happened anyways. It was like really just super sad. But that's kind of most of what they got right and wrong. Some more stuff they got right. Those like the dynasty of the Von Erichs. and then like
Mikey did a very good job at redoing that scene of like him.
Yeah, at the press conference. Yeah, that was really good. Well done. Compared to like the real thing. Go watch the documentary because it'll show footage of the real thing, and it's just so haunting seeing Mike in that state, and it's just really sad. Like he did try to get back in the ring after a while, but like it didn't really take. But it was so just haunting watching that because he just looked dead already. Really emotional and sad. One like I said earlier at the beginning was like Doris was pretty checked out from the beginning of the movie, and that's not how she was in real life. It was like after Chris's death, and that's when her and Fritz got divorced. She continued to live on the property until she died in 2015, but yeah, that was I didn't necessarily like how they portrayed her, but yeah, that was what they got right and what they changed. So I have some questions, just like Queen of the Ring. Did the Iron Claw do justice to the legacy of the Von Erich family? I feel like this is a hard one.
Yeah, I feel like the legacy, no. Like how much they really did for the sport, but I feel like for the legacy of their family, yes. Like their personal lives.
Right. I think it's a yes and no question or answer. Yes, they did, but having omitted so many factors, it's kind of condensed everything. It kind of takes away from like the legacy of it. That actually reminded me of another thing that they changed for this movie, which I thought was an interesting choice. But Ross and Marshall were not Kevin's first two kids. He actually had two girls first.
Oh.
So, but they used Ross and Marshall, one, because they're pro wrestlers now.
They were in the movie, correct?
I believe they were. I think
they're in like one shot, the shot where Kevin is like signing away, or like considering signing away the business.
Yes, yeah. So I think they changed that for like the specificality of like the whole brothers thing, and then them being wrestlers kind of carry on the legacy as well. They did change that. But yeah, anyway. Should films omit or alter history for narrative flow? Or is it too risky when dealing with real lives? I feel like we had a similar question with Queen of the Ring, but
I feel like certain stuff you kind of have to. But, I mean, that's the point of documentary. Documentary is supposed to be historically accurate with, like, no emotion.
Mm-hmm.
And then film is supposed to draw out your emotion.
Yeah. I feel like it would have done more justice if it was a 4-hour movie.
Yeah.
But obviously,
I've been fine with that.
I would have too. Yeah. But I know a lot of people aren't into long movies like that. So
there's a certain amount. Not every movie needs to be 4 hours long.
Yeah, no. Or even 3.
Or even like over 2.5.
Yeah.
But like you can easily tell a story in an hour and a half.
Yeah.
So I think this movie filled up its space pretty well.
Yeah. Last question, and I feel like this is going to be a tough one as well. Which brother's story impacted you the most and why? And you can include like Chris as well, even though he would, because of the fact that like Chris was kind of mixed in with Mike.
That's a good question. Let me think about that one.
Okay,
that's a good question.
I'll go with
you
mine.
Go first. I feel like I know what you're gonna say. You're gonna say Kevin.
Yeah, I would say Kevin just because Kevin is not technically the oldest brother.
Yeah.
He's the second oldest.
Second oldest brother syndrome.
Yes. But yeah, just for the movie itself, like having him be the oldest, it resonates with me the most because I am the oldest. And yeah, that was an easy question for me, honestly.
I don't know. I feel like there's
also like I would say second is Carrie, just because Carrie had the most success in like he's the one that made it to the WWF, even though it was for a short time. And if he had a different gimmick, it would have worked so well. Even with the having, an amputated foot, like he could have had so much success. So if he had a different gimmick instead of the Texas Tornado, if he went by Kerry Von Erich, megastar, I think.
I feel like there's just elements from each. Maybe not the oldest brother because he was only like 4.
4.
I feel like it's kind of a cop out, but Mike because he's the youngest. But and then probably Carrie. I don't know. Probably not Kevin because I'm not the oldest.
And I think for the movie purposes, like Carrie's death hit the most because it was more drawn out compared to the other ones. Like David went to Japan and then like all of a sudden he was dead. And then you kind of see a little bit of Mike and like the sadness of what's going on, but he had like such a stone face for it when that happened. Did you notice like during that whole scene, in the ring with Kevin and Carrie, you see Mike's light in the background? Mm-mm. Yeah, you see it walking.
Yeah, I noticed that.
Yeah.
I noticed that the second time. And I was like, oh, that is cool.
Yeah.
That's sad. But yeah, I'd probably say the two biggest things I can connect with Mike the most is that he's the youngest, obviously. And then he went for a more not traditional route for his career, or what he wanted to do, which is music. I don't want to do music. I want to do film, which is not traditional. So.
Oh, okay. I did want to. Okay, one last thought.
Well, I guess that because it's like innate that they all become wrestlers. Yeah. And then we have a mostly military family, so it's kind of like innate. Like, oh, military is an option. Yeah.
I wanted to talk about the final scenes before we wrap up, just because how impactful it was. Like after Carrie died, and then you see him in heaven, which was just like an
first time it threw me off.
Yeah, it was an interesting choice, and I think liked it a lot.
For Kevin.
Yes, yeah,
the real Kevin.
It's like and I thought it was an interesting choice, but I think it worked out so well. Like Carrie gets his foot back, then he's kind of going on the water.
Do you know where they were for that?
Where? They're on the property, but
they're on the water.
Yeah,
that's where they were tubing at the beginning when they were drinking on the water.
Oh, okay.
So I guess that was kind of showing that that's a usual spot for them. So that's like probably where they had the most memories.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't know that. But yeah, and he's on the water and he sees his brothers, and I like how they didn't call each other out by names. It's brothers. It was so emotional, and then you see David with the big gold belt. And then Mike with the guitar, and then he's like, they hug each other, and it's a nice moment.
And he's like,
it's like the pain is gone.
He's like, where's Jack Jr.?
Yeah, and as soon as they show Jack Jr., it got me. Yeah, it gets me every time.
That gets me every time.
And like it's kind of a weird comparison, and like I don't like that it's like in my mind I compare it like this, but
I think we all did.
Yeah, but it's like a little blonde kid, and my son, he's not really blonde anymore, but like he's
when
still
the movie
young.
Came out, he was.
Yeah, and Carrie says, "Hey Jackie," and that's what I call my son. Like my son's name is Jackson. He call him Jax or mainly Jackie. So like as soon as he said, "Hey Jackie," like even now like I'm starting to get emotional about it. But yeah, that was just it hit me so hard. And then like when Kevin is sitting there watching his kids play.
That part. Actually, no, I was gonna say the part that like hits really hard that really sums it up is they're all like it feels like everything is fixed, and then it just smash cuts to Kevin.
Yes,
and everything's cold and alone, and then you instantly feel the pain again, and then it's like wow, that was well done.
And then he's watching his sons play, and he's crying, and then his kids come up, and he's like, "Why are you crying?" He's like, "I'm sorry, I shouldn't cry," and he's like, "It's okay to cry."
And it wasn't with this one. It starts out at a low shot, and then when his kids like come to him, it's level, and then it rises to like show that it's okay to be like vulnerable.
Yeah, yeah, and that was really sad too. It's like it's okay to cry. We cry all the time, and it's like a nice little funny moment, but like it's still like in the serious moment. And
then they're like, "What's wrong?" And then I liked this because Kevin says this a lot, even still. He says that I used to be a brother,
and no, I'm not.
Yeah,
and then the kids are like, I'll be your brother. We'll be your brothers. Yeah. And it's just like it was another moment. Like I calmed down after the heaven scene, and then it gets me right back up to being emotional. And like it was just they did such a good job with that ending. So yeah. All right. Final thoughts.
Great movie. Go watch it. Be ready to cry.
Yeah.
For Iron Claw.
Yeah. Yeah. Iron Claw.
Definitely go watch Queen of the Ring too. Really good story. Just kind of wish the production was a little better. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Definitely go watch both of those. Go watch the Dark Side of the Ring episode on the Von Erichs, and then go watch the Hollywood Demons episode on the Von Erichs, because it's a really powerful story, and I think it's something that everybody should understand. So yeah. Yep. So join us for Friday for movie news, and remember. You can't run a marathon without putting a few Band-Aids on your nipples.